Hello, Sister Leaders Podcast. Look, this is Dr. Karen Hills Prudent here. And you know, when I show up, I bring awesome people with me. And today I have none other than Janet Tonkins. Janet, tell the Sister Leaders community how wonderful you are.
Hey, Sister Leaders Conference. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Karen for having me on. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be able to be on here today. I am Janet Tonkins, the Cashflow Diva, and I buy houses like women buy shoes. And throughout my 37-year history, I've completed over $800 million in real estate transactions. We own over 100 properties in 3 states. That's Maryland, New Jersey, and Atlanta, Georgia. And we just completed not one, but two, a $37 million apartment building, 70 units for grandparents raising their grandchildren, and working on a 70-unit apartment building for homeless veterans in New Jersey. But even before that, I am a child and a servant of God, mother of 3, married 44 years to my best friend, business partner, and lover. And so, my mantra is, I seek God first and everything else is added unto me. So I'm truly blessed. And I'm blessed to be here this evening.
Awesome. So, look, I did a little slooping and digging and getting all in your business. And so I have some questions here. I want to know a little bit more beyond that surface information that I know about you. And so let's get started. So, going from poverty to prosperity, can you share the defining moment when you knew your life was about to change?
Woo-hoo. As many of our sisters has, first of all, I grew up in poverty in the Christopher Columbus projects in Patterson, New Jersey, building 4, apartment 15C, where drug abuse and, of course, violence was the norm. And, of course, elevators were often broke. So guess what? We had to go up 15 flight of stairs with not only laundry, but many times laundry and groceries. And on one of those occasions, I almost got raped. And so, I've been through it all. As a matter of fact, in my keynote, one of my main keynotes is I speak about coming from the projects. I also suffer from very low self-esteem. And that was due to short hair, bald head, being called bald-headed, to sisters who were light-skinned and had long hair. In addition to that, I was bullied. Even though at 4 years old, I was extremely smart. I was teaching at the age of 6, I was teaching other kids how to read. But those things stuck with me. And on one of those occasions, I can vividly remember, and I worked since the age of 13 because I've always wanted something better for myself. So I would come home at the age of 20, I would come home to find my younger sister wearing my clothes without my permission. And I didn't have a problem with that. However, it was, some things hit you differently on different days. I'd come home that particular day and oh no, she didn't. She had my red, black, and white silk blouse on, had a stain on it, which I had intended to wear the following day to a job interview. And so, we fought. We got into it. And even though, I got the worst end of the stick because she won the fight. But because I was the oldest, Daddy kicked me and my 1-year-old out, saying he didn't care where we went. So bruised, broken, busted, disgusted. No money, no support, no plan, and just a baby on my head. I had to leave. But I leaped from the fire from the frying pan into the fire, because I then moved in with my then boyfriend's parents. Stayed 1 month due to abuse and them taking advantage of me. Rented a room for $25 a week, barely surviving and struggling for years. Now, that was at the age of 20. At 21, I then accepted Christ. And once I accepted Christ, I then realized that with him and through him, I had the power to change my situation. So that one moment, although it marked me, it didn't define me. And so what I did, I was determined to never, ever let that happen to me again. So I dug all in. I read everything that I could. Forbes magazine, Money magazine, Inc. magazine, Entrepreneur, to discover that 90% of the world's millionaires became so as a result of real estate. And so I dug in, I dug all in. But I have to say, I still struggled. There was still some struggle. However, 5 years later, now married with 3 children, at the age of 26, I was able to purchase a 23-room triplex. There were 7 rooms on the first floor, 7 rooms on the second floor, which I lived in, and 4 rooms on the third floor. So I rented both the first and the third floors out. We also had 5 finished rooms in the basement with an office and a kitchen, which were ours. But guess what? That was done with absolutely no money down and all of our closing costs paid as a result, and I say favor, resilience, and research. So that was, now I want you to hear this. This was in 1987 now. I bought that one property for $90,000. Remember, that's 23 rooms, no money down, but the interest rate was 9%. So I leaped. I leaped scared, but I leaped. And so that one imperfect move led to over 100 plus properties and now over $800 million in real estate transactions. So I say to anybody, if I can leap or if I can move scared, uncertain, and broke, so can you.
I love that. And you talked about faith and favor. And so, what role did faith play in sustaining you during the toughest parts of your journey?
Well, faith, I mean, God didn't say once we accepted him that life would be perfect. Also, just as he suffered, we have to go through some trials and tribulations as well. And I always say, what doesn't kill you does what? It makes you strong. It makes you stronger. And so it also increased my prayer life, because then right now I pray about everything. He says, pray without ceasing, pray about everything, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication and with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to me. And that allowed me to do that. And I have to say, through all of those, and I've been to some struggles. As a matter of fact, I say to young women who I talk to quite a bit, I've often gone through a fact where I was supposed to get married and got engaged, put it all in the newspaper. He goes off to the service, comes back, he's married to somebody else. And because I co-signed for my own engagement ring, even though throwing it back at him, I wind up paying for my own engagement ring. So I've been through some stuff. So I know that other women have, but I'm here to tell you that we can come out of the abyss. We don't have to stay stuck and broke, because God didn't create us to stay stuck or broke.
Awesome. And I totally agree with you. So with your over 100 residential properties and your 800 million in transactions, what project taught you the most about risk and reward?
Oh, there's been quite a few. So first of all, what I often say to folks is, first of all, when it comes to risk, we got to do our due diligence. And sometimes we'll go out there and we will leap, because out of those 800 million, I've also lost some money. And I also say to folks, because don't try to do everything at once. Try to become excellent at that one thing, and then everything else will avail yourselves. Because what we did, we tried to buy a shopping center in North Carolina and did not do our homework in actually doing that, because you got to remember, on these larger projects that you're going after, and that includes syndication deals as well. And what syndication means is you're pooling your monies together with others. But when those deposits are placed down, and many times they are large deposits. So we've lost over 200,000 as a result of a couple of projects. And one in particular is that shopping center deal. Number one, we had needed to stay in our lane. Or number two, we had needed to do much more due diligence than what we had. So that's a part of the risk. And then the rewards are, if you are doing your due diligence, and if you're buying right, and if you're treating, a lot of people treat real estate as a hobby and not a business. If you're treating that as a business, then the rewards are absolutely tremendous. As a matter of fact, during COVID, as a result of that, a lot of people did not survive, but I only not survived. I thrived during COVID, because it's also a matter of buying the right properties. You want to buy them, if you can buy them below market value, please do. And they are out there today. I've just had two of my young students. We closed on a deal for one of them on Wednesday, and the other deal we closed this past Monday. And I loan my students a great portion of the money for them to start their investing deals. So you have me, not only do you have me as a mentor and a coach to steer and to guide you, I'm not going to let them buy a property that does not fit our requirements. And I always say to folks, when you buy, you want to buy making money the first time that you buy the property. And what do I mean by that? I mean that, say, for my first student just bought a property, $153,000. It's a 3-bedroom, absolutely beautiful. Most of the work has been done. It's within walking distance of Camden Yards, as well as the M&T Ravens Stadium and downtown Baltimore. That property we got from what's called a wholesaler at 153, but it's already, before we get the appraisal, it's already valued at between $240,000 and $273,000. So when I say buy property and make your money when you initially buy the property, that is what I mean. So he's going to get the cream of the crop in terms of the type of tenants that he's get. He has a choice of market rate and Section 8. We don't have to go Section 8 if we don't want to, but he's going to get top dollar. And that's the difference. That's all about the risk and the rewards that you were referring to, Dr. Karen.
Oh, that is so interesting. So, why have you chosen to invest heavily in affordable housing and community-focused projects? Tell me about where that originated from.
Well, what I say to everybody, you crawl, you walk, and you run. Okay, so when we started, remember, I started with that 23-room triplex. As a matter of fact, that same year, we wind up buying 3 additional duplexes in New Jersey. Made some mistakes along the way, and then we sold most of them before we moved to Baltimore, Maryland in 2001. The reason that we moved to Baltimore is because the ceiling in Patterson, New Jersey is very low, and it still is today. They can't see Blacks owning businesses other than the McDonald's and the Kentucky Fried Chickens, which is what most of them own. So I can tell you, they have a mindset there that the only thing Blacks can do also is to sell drugs. I can tell you a story. My husband bought a Corvette in 1982, and even the city council president said, and that 23-room property was on the corner. Broadway and 33rd Street. So the city council president, who was my girlfriend's friend, said, "What's Owen doing? Selling drugs?" So they couldn't even see those things. But we started with the triplex and the duplex. We moved to Baltimore in 2001, started all over again with some brownstones, 3 and 4 units, 6 units, 7 units, and 20 units, 20 unit buildings. So what we've learned, and my husband ran Section 8 when we were in the city of Patterson. So you got to remember what's going on today is a lot of grandparents, due to drug addiction, due to mental health issues, what are they having to do? They have to take care of their grandchildren or turn them over to foster parents. Now, if they're living in a normal senior citizens without children, they can, of the most that the children or the grandchildren or the nieces and the nephews can stay is 2 weeks. Otherwise, they're going to be kicked out. And then my husband we thought of his situation. I mean, he lived with his grandmother. As a matter of fact, his parents lived in South Carolina while his grandmother, they allowed him to stay with his grandmother for 4 years before they all moved to New Jersey together. So that's becoming more prevalent now. And so, I mean, that's one of the things that's near to me. For some reason, I've always liked the elderly, and I've always said under elderly. Even my grandma, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida initially, but my parents, as soon as school was out, they would take us to Pensacola, Florida. So, you know, I have a heart for seniors and the elderly. And so we thought, you know, what kind of project would, number one, could we do for that? And that became the Affordable Housing Project. So that was the first one that we did. And then the other issues are, which I see daily now, because I allow homeless veterans in some of my units that we have here in Baltimore and in Atlanta. There's a big need for affordable housing for homeless veterans. And we got to remember, there's a lot of female homeless veterans now as well. So those were 2 things that were near and dear. And then the other thing with that is those are projects that both got unanimous approval, because your city hall, you have to partner with not only HUD, but you have to partner with City Hall and you partner with the states. So we got $17 million from the state of New Jersey, and then we got an extra $1 million from the city of Patterson to help with those particular projects, because you got to remember, everybody says affordable housing, but the steel and the cost to build is the exact same, whether it's market rate or affordable housing. So what makes it affordable is all the assistance that you're actually going to get to bring some of your costs down.
Oh, I love that. I want to kind of move a little bit and talk about maybe business strategy and impact. And so, my little sloofing around, me digging all in your business, I see that you sit on executive boards of the Baltimore Real Estate Investment Association. You're a co-chair of Savvy Women's Investment Meeting. And so, how are you helping shape the next generation of investors based on the Savvy Women's Investments?
Okay, I mean, that's dear and near to me. And what we call that in my church is continuity. Okay, because you want to continue, you want to teach those young folks there. So I have 19, 20, 22, 23, 24-year-olds that I have taught, that I've not only taught, but I've loaned them the money to buy their properties. And that's both males and females, okay? So, for example, I have a 24-year-old Nick now, and they become our family members, as a matter of fact. Nick waited 3 years because I have a coaching program. So Nick could not afford